like to welcome you to the spring edition of Talking with Colerain Township. As always, in our spring attire here at the round table, I'm very fortunate to have with me Township Administrator Jim Rowan. Jim, glad you could join us again.
Thanks, Jason. Glad to be here.
Well, last time we were here, we were talking new visions and new prospects. And of course, here we are in the spring. Things are now cropping up. Things are looking beautiful. And that's what's coming up next for Colerain. From what I understand, Colerain's going to be the place to be.
Well, we hope so.
Oh,
It's been an exciting spring. We just unveiled about probably 6 weeks ago now the new website, the new brand look.
Absolutely.
And most recently, the leadership team went through a leadership summit, so to speak, to really refocus on our vision, our mission, our values, and our strategic initiatives that are going to drive our direction for the next several years. And the reason I wanted to pull the team together and kind of refocus our efforts is that we've had a mission statement.
Sure.
And the mission statement is somewhere around 3 paragraphs long, and nobody could recite it. And to me, if you're going to be a best-in-class community, we got to breathe it, live it every single day.
That makes perfect sense.
And it needs to be short. It needs to have a message to that. And so we took 2 days and had the chance to get together and really dig deep into where we want Colerain to be. We adopted a vision statement of delivering excellence to a best-in-class community. And we believe that we are on our way. We think there's still a lot of room for opportunity, but that's our vision. That's where we want to be. And we spent a lot of time talking about the importance of that statement and just not coming up with words to put on paper, but something that you can repeat, by memory every single day. And it's all about excellence. And we do believe that Colerain's a special community, and we want to be best in class and be able to demonstrate that to our community. So we spent the morning of our retreat talking a lot about the vision and then the mission statement. And as I indicated, our mission statement went from 3 paragraphs down to really a simple paragraph. And it's one that is pretty easy to recite.
Sure.
And it's all about engaging our residents, businesses, and visitors to create a vibrant and safe community through innovation, continuous improvement, and our commitment to excellence.
And I think we're already seeing, as you had said, a lot of that was already instilled. And we've already been seeing that, be it either the Springdale Colerain corridor area, be it the demolition for a lot of the neighborhoods, things like that. But I like what you're saying is that there's this room for improvement.
There is, and it's never about the status quo. We need to continue to think outside the box, continue to identify new opportunities. And while we went through this value exercise and really came up with some unique values,
Sure.
Using Colerain, and I'll pay special attention to the last one as we look at the Inn in Colerain, and the value to us is our neighborhoods. And as you look through this community, and when we got to day 2 of the retreat, and we really started specifically talking about what's it going to take for us to become that best-in-class community. And we recognize economic development is growing. We're seeing that with the revitalization of Northgate Mall, most recently with the development of Stone Creek Plaza. There needs to be some attention down south at the Ronald Reagan corridor in the Groesbeck area. But it's more than just economic development. Economic development is going to give us the opportunity to grow our future revenues and to create a stable tax base. But it's also about revitalizing our neighborhoods and getting people to want to stay here and live here and move here into the Colerain community. So while economic development is obviously one of our top priorities, community redevelopment and the efforts that we're doing right now with the John Rose demolition project.
Right.
We've got 5 properties down there we've identified of the 30 that we originally identified. But we do believe that John Rose community provides us with a very unique opportunity to redevelop right off Colerain Avenue, bring stabilization to a community that houses an elementary school. And with the crime that we've seen in that area, it's really a focal point for us right now as we look at community redevelopment.
And I'm assuming that you're going to probably circle that back into a community as opposed to just leaving it green space or doing something else with it or leaving it go at one point. Just bringing the community back into Colerain, I'm assuming.
Absolutely, and we haven't finalized any of the decisions yet down there. Right now we want to get rid of the blight and the condemned property. get that demolished, and then look at how we can best serve that community. It's kind of you've got multifamily housing in with residential housing and with light industrial commercial.
Yeah.
And it may lend itself to be a potential commercial zone down the road, up to that bridge, so to speak, going into the residential community. There's a lot of ways that we can reshape that area. Right now, let's address the eyesores and the condemned properties, and then talk. And Jeff Mills, my director of building planning and zoning, is working with a neighborhood revitalization program and working to engage the community and trying to figure out what's best for our communities. And as evidenced by the last public hearing with the number of demos, even in the Northbrook area, there are individuals that want to do the right thing. We want to continue the path of enforcement. It's not that we want to lay the hammer down, but we recognize that without that accountability method, it's easy to get off track. And if we hold these people accountable and say, if you fix your house up, especially in the Northbrook area, it's an area worth investing in, and it's worth it to us to work with the homeowners and fix your property up and reinvest. If that doesn't happen, then we've got a mechanism in place to deal with it through the demolition process.
And I think you see that in the last two trustees meetings that you've had with the special hearings at the end with the demos going on. The first one wasn't so bad. Second one got a little more heated, and understandably so. But I think it's also showing that reinforcement of take responsibility of what's going on. And as you said, you have a mechanism and plan to make things happen.
Absolutely.
And that's a good thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with what we're seeing. I think that it is just that step forward, as you always have said, that step forward to making things right.
It's that accountability piece and
Absolutely.
follow through. And each one of these 10 items that we've identified as part of our strategic initiatives is something we will visit every week in my leadership meeting with my team, so that we can develop specific strategies and action plans to execute. And I would suspect and expect our community to hold us accountable for this. If this is going to be our strategic plan, so to speak, that we believe is necessary to make us a best-in-class community, then this is what we need to be measured on. And not everything here can just be done very easily. Some of it's going to require funding, and we're going to have to manage our way through this, and that's going to lead into some conversations as we develop the 2014 budget in May 28th, as we look at budget reductions again, June 4th town hall meeting, and then ultimately the adoption of that budget is strategically how do we generate the revenue we need to earmark for these specific projects. And I'll talk specifically about the next two items, and that is, streetscape.
Yes.
We're doing a lot of that right now at Colerain and Springdale.
And you see a lot of that going on, and it's looking
very,
looking like a street corner.
Absolutely. Well, and if you've driven by Pearl Vision, they're out painting
True.
it today. And it's just one more example of branding your community, setting the expectation that we want you to maintain your facilities, your buildings. That's going to help us increase values in this community. But, oftentimes government doesn't think that marketing and branding is important. But in this community, with as many business opportunities as we have to showcase Colerain. We have to make it a place for businesses to want to come, residents to want to come and live here. And there's been a lot of effort on the northern part of Colerain Avenue at 275. We want to continue that effort. We also want to develop strategies to address development in the Groesbeck area, specifically in the Ronald Reagan 275 or Ronald Reagan Colerain Avenue area. But part of that also comes with investment in maybe some landscaping. We're going to do a streetscape design at 275 and Colerain Avenue that's going to replace the fencing across the bridge. We're going to go with the black rail fencing with Colerain across there, like you see a lot of communities. And we want to be able to continue to brand ourselves and make ourselves marketable for those businesses wanting to come to Colerain.
And we had talked even from from our first conversation of the year, kind of bringing this forward. We were kind of focusing right now at the northern exit, but of course the southern side will get its chance, but it just takes time.
It does.
And as you're saying, the other thing I want to go back with streetscape as well as Jeff Mills, as you have said, has also dubbed it the year of the sign. And a lot of things, if people have been watching the zoning meetings and the like, have also noticed that a lot of items have come about signage.
Yes.
And at this point in time, the removal of a lot of signage, because there's a lot of, shall we call it, congestion, especially on Colerain Avenue with the number of signs. Do you think that's going to help with the cleanup, that branding, that that inviting nature that Colerain will offer.
Absolutely, and that's going to be a slower process. I mean, a lot of the temporary signs will be an easy fix. We're going to roll out an education and enforcement campaign where we roll out to the businesses what the expectation is. Once again, there's got to be that accountability level, so those that are in non-conformance or non-compliance will address that. But we really want to reach out, let them know what the new standards are. Some of the non-conforming use signs we will continue to address as new businesses come in, try to bring those in line. So it's not something you'll see necessarily happen overnight. My major goal is let's get rid of the flags, let's get rid of the people that are human signs in the right of way. I recognize there are certain rights that they have to display signs, but to be in the right of way and to create nuisance opportunities for traffic going by creates a safety issue from my perspective. A lot of the on sale today signs, you might see 10 or 15 of those litter a property. That's really what we want to address. We don't want Colerain Avenue to have the same image that it always has with all these temporary signs and banners, and that's what we hope to be able to gather from this new text amendment.
And of course, as we were talking earlier about that branding, as we're coming off on 275, coming onto Colerain, we've got the new black rail fence coming up. What other elements are you going to be bringing in? Are things like from Stone Creek and the new North Gate going to kind of bring us down, or are we going to see something new, a new element coming in?
Well, in addition to the fence that you'll see across 275, there will be some landscaping islands within the on-ramps and off-ramps to try to give that appeal of coming into the township, probably more so coming in than leaving. We'll look at that. It's all, based on budget, obviously.
Sure.
And then there's a section of concrete median just south of the overpass that's crumbling currently. And there's plans to tear that out and replace that with a planted median where we'll actually have some low level plants, shrubbery, that type of thing to kind of dress up the gateway, so to speak, of your community. And then we'll do what we can to continue that effort at least down past the mall currently. And then we are currently putting in partnership with Jeffrey Allen Landscaping, a landscaping island at Ronald Reagan and Colerain Avenue. We tore that fence out there, and it's just an opportunity for us to kind of light that area up a little bit as well. And then we're working with both ODOT and Hamilton County. We would like to get the bridge, Ronald Reagan Bridge over Colerain Avenue, repainted. And there seems to be some misunderstanding as to whose responsibility that is. A lot of finger pointing between the state and the county, but we want to work with them to try to figure out what it would cost us to get it repainted. In particular, the concrete structure part of it that looks like it's been painted out due to graffiti or something of that nature. But that's an eyesore, and that's one of the main corridors coming in and out of the township. And once again, if we're going to try to redevelop that corner down there, we need to be able to invest in that corner and attract businesses to want to come in there.
And when we had talked last time as well, obviously that was not an area that was going to get as much attention as the north. But one of the items we were discussing was possibly the brush cleanup and things of that. Is that still going to go on as well?
Absolutely. In fact, we've already seen that if you're heading south on Colerain Avenue and you were to head up westbound onto Ronald Reagan, you'll actually see where my Parks and Services team has actually cleared out a lot of that brush. This past week, they were out cleaning up litter. And while that goes far and beyond really our responsibility, we recognize it's important. It's an image issue, so we did declare somewhat of a cleanup day in certain areas last week, and was able to get out and get some of that litter cleaned up and to dress up that gateway area. So
things are definitely coming along when it comes to streetscape.
Absolutely. Our next item is probably the most critical in my opinion, and one that I don't really have a solution today for, and that is investment in our public infrastructure. And that is, what strategies are we going to develop to maintain our streets, our curbs, our gutters, our sidewalks, our aprons. And although the aprons and the sidewalks are the responsibility of the resident, how do we work together to bring about the renovation or the resurfacing efforts that are needed in some of our neighborhoods that are going to provide for growth and value and revitalization of a community.
Which goes back to that first point about community reinvestment.
Exactly. So we're still going to look on how we do that. It's something that I really want to commit to. If not, your infrastructure is going to deteriorate without a long-term strategy. Through our capital planning efforts, we've identified between 1.5 and 2 million a year in need.
Ooh.
And right now, as a result of the latest budget cuts, we have zero money allocated for road improvements outside of the SKIP grant that was awarded last year. So it's a challenge, and
Sure.
it's a conversation piece we need to continue to have with our community. And I think there's going to be the opportunity for us to use some specific TIF revenue for some of the public infrastructure,
Okay.
but we can only do it in areas that benefit the Stone Creek area because that's where the TIF's
That's
tied
coming
into.
from.
So trying to find a longer term strategy for other areas of our community is something we'll continue to work on.
And I know that we're trying to avoid as much possibility of talking about levies, and it is a hard thing to discuss, but at some point, is that something that may be on the horizon? I mean, I know especially coming up, we have the next point here, public safety,
Sure.
which is just as important, if not, I mean, it is the core
That's correct.
value there.
Well, where we are right now is, we've been attacking the budget from an efficiency perspective and really trying to drive down cost and drive efficiency where we can. We are almost to the point. Like I said earlier, we will always strive for that continuous improvement. Wherever there's an opportunity to save, we're going to work on that opportunity. For instance, right now we have a technology position vacant. Josh Campbell left, and rather than just go out and hire someone, we're having conversations with Northwest Schools to see if there's a shared service opportunity where we can partner and maybe share a resource and compensate them for a return. That way we both win in that situation. But, looking at this whole budget piece, we'll be presenting our contingency plans on May 28th. That's going to call for a reduction of 50% or 100% of our annual deficit in each of our funds, both safety and non-safety, and what a service model looks like if we were to implement.
Okay.
If we were to cut our deficit in half, what happens to the service levels? And I believe that's the whole value conversation where I want to engage the community, and that is, what are they willing to accept from a service level, and how do you balance that with cost and revenue expectations? And the police levy, we are in year 6 of a 5-year levy. The police money will be gone by the end of this year. So if we do not proceed with a police, public safety, some sort of a levy in the fall, we will be funding that out of the general fund. We have no choice. So we'll have to fund that out of reserves. And those reserves are valuable because with the loss of the estate tax and local government fund, we've been chopping away at that $1.5 million annual deficit to the point now we're down to about $850,000 to $900,000, but that's still a chunk. And if we don't address that by 2018, 2019, we'll have no reserves in the general fund. So, there's a strategy there that if I can get the budgets aligned, I can use some of the reserve money to fund public infrastructure. So it's a combination of a lot of things. But at the same time, managing our funding with community expectations. It's the police time now. The last fire levy was in 10, was slated to go through 15. We're going to try to stretch those dollars. If I can get us all aligned where we can get on like 2018 might be the next cycle after whatever we do with police.
With this one, yes.
Then we can start to look at things from a global perspective. Instead of chipping away at a police levy, a fire levy, historically we've had road levies.
Sure.
Try to come up with some options to sustain us as a township moving forward so that we're all working together for the betterment of Colerain as a whole and get out of the individual fundraising necessary to achieve within a department.
Again, striving for that best in class as a whole, as you said.
Whole,
and I
absolutely.
think that's an interesting way to look at it. I don't think anyone else has really gotten to that. But yet, we have discussed, again, trying, as you've been doing benchmarking, and you're saying, we've tried benchmarking against other townships, but Colerain is a different entity.
Right.
That you have to look at other areas. And I think by our discussion here today, I think we're starting to see that you're looking at other areas to change that viewpoint.
And we will continue to benchmark. That's going to be a common practice. I think the key is identifying who a peer benchmark is. It may not necessarily be a township. It could be a county. It could be a city. But we really need to identify with our own community square miles, demographics, number of residents, level of service. You just can't say, well, we compare to this township, just because we're the same type of government. That doesn't work. Our service models are much different.
Sure.
But we will talk about the need for some funding, in particular for our police department, both May 28th and June 4th. And it's going to be really, and I'll talk a little bit more about the financial sustainability in my last point.
Sure.
Building, planning, and zoning.
Yes.
One of the strategies is we're looking at right now, we're looking to see what's possible, and that's to implement a licensing program for vacant properties.
Okay.
We have in excess of 200 vacant properties in this township. City of Norwood has a vacant licensing fee where they actually assess the homeowner or the landowner, businesses and residents, a fee for having a vacant structure. The reason is that creates initiative for them to want to either sell their property or develop their property. And there's a revenue opportunity to help us sustain our zoning, building, and planning department as we continue to grow economic development. As you know, we've reduced resources with our zoning inspectors and our planner. We're getting pretty tight in that area, so if we can generate some alternative revenue to sustain their department at a high level, then that's something, and also create initiative for people to want to get these vacant structures up and moving. That's a goal of ours.
Well, as we've talked before, and as we've seen, and as the residents have seen as well, that, as you said, you've been tightening that belt, and you know, we have the police department helping out the zoning to go in and enforce varying things or to check on different things. Has that actually been working for you? And if so, obviously, what can you better to do? And if not, what can you better
Absolutely.
to make that?
I actually have a report, and I believe it is online, but we call it our scoreboard report, and it's basically a measure of how we've been doing with enforcing, not only are moving our Ohio forward with the properties we've identified, but also dealing with property maintenance and nuisance complaints. And the system's working well. The challenge that we have is recently we've laid off effective May 1st 10 employees within our public services department, which are part-time employees within public works, parks, and the community center. So as we continue to lose our resources, then we lose our opportunity to have resources available to go out there, take pictures, and address those nuisance properties. So the system we have in place is working currently. But as we continue to try to trim our budgets back, at some point I'm concerned that we'll lose sight of that as being a priority. And I think that is a very important priority. We get a lot of nuisance complaints in a given year, as much as 1,000 complaints a year on trash, litter, and yard complaints.
Well, I was just going to say, we're just getting into the spring and summer months here. I can't imagine it be any different than any other year with so-and-so didn't cut their grass or their yard looks terrible or to that type of a nuisance complaint.
Well, we are using technology to help us. We just invested in a program called Excella, I believe is the name of it, that's going to allow us to actually enter things from the field once. Right now the practice is you take pictures, you enter it, and then you got to come in the office, it has to be re-entered. This new system is going to allow everything to get integrated, pictures can be sent, and all, so that it's going to cut down on redundancy. And that's an opportunity as well.
It almost sounds as if you're utilizing what's in a police car as is, or what I'm envisioning is that there's a small terminal or something within it that's easy to access that is all integrated into one.
It could be that, an iPhone, an iPad, there's a number of different devices. So we're looking forward to that. Item 7, transforming our internal culture. This is a favorite of mine, and that is to continue to build trust and transparency throughout their community. As you look at our website, we are doing everything we can to be more and more transparent. We're putting everything out there for people to stay informed and get educated. And it's a culture that I believe in. If you can be transparent and you develop that trust, not only with your employees but your community, that's necessary to transform to a best-in-class community.
Sure.
And that's something I'm pretty proud of and promote a lot within my team.
And I have to say that the new website is much easier to navigate through. To find certain things are top-notch. I have to commend the team, again, for being able to do a complete overhaul like that and do it well.
Well, thank you. And I think there's one real important component of that website is that listserv for people to be able to actually subscribe and get updates, whether it's a new development coming in, a groundbreaking ribbon-cutting special meeting, to be able to have instant access is really important for that transparency and communication. Item 8, cultural value. I use that word a lot, cultural value, and people say, well, what do you mean maintain a cultural value? Well, to me, it's not about a commodity. It's not a black and white issue where you always achieve the lowest cost service, because there is a quality component. And it's like when you go buy a car. There are people that like to buy Cadillacs. There are people that like to buy the old Yugo, so to speak. And it's a matter of balance, once again, with budget and what people value. And everybody's values are different. So as I look at this community of 59,000 residents, how do you maintain a culture of value where you can serve the residents, both police, fire, public safety, or parks and services, roads, community center, senior center, fireworks, Taste of Colerain, all those wonderful things about a community are things that people value.
Yes.
And everybody values something different, and everything has a price tag associated with it. So maintaining that culture of value, in particular in our parks and our community center, where there are two areas that we are not required to offer. Our primary responsibilities, police, fire, and roads.
That's true.
So we've chosen to invest in our parks and our community center. Very proud of that. So how do we maintain that and balance between our service levels, costs, and our revenue methods? And that's a community conversation, and that is also going to be something that we're going to be discussing over the next 4 to 6 weeks.
I think most people have a tendency not to think about, and it may be one of those issues that it's very difficult to explain or to talk about in general, is, as you said, putting that price tag on it. You know, we love Taste of Colerain, we love the fireworks, we love the parks, but as conversations have gone on, do you love the parks so much to have a parking pass now? Do you love the Taste of Colerain to have an entrance fee? Things of that nature. Again, putting that price tag on it. And I'm not saying these are things that are happening. Don't quote me.
Right.
But these are things that, as you say, someone's got to look at it, and these are wonderful things, and these are what help grow this community. But
right. Well, and it's like the fireworks is a prime example. We know that's something our community values. And by moving it to the Taste of Colerain allows our community to value both things in one event, which allows us to lower our cost. So we can have a premier event with our taste and some fireworks at the same time. And so it's balance, it's compromise.
Sure, that makes sense.
Last two items, shared services. We want to continue to identify and seek out partnerships for cost sharing. And where we can gather mutual aid through local and regional basis. It's all about that cost sharing opportunity, working with other governments. Any way we can share services and drive down cost is something we want to continue to look at, like I just mentioned with the IT position that we're looking into.
Are you finding that a little easier to discuss now in this culture and in this economic time than maybe you would have, say, 5 years ago?
Yeah, I believe that there's more attention focused right now on shared services. I think we have a long way to go, and in particular, as we look at public safety, whether you're talking police or fire, the concepts of the local communities versus a regional basis. And if you look at fire departments in particular, to be able to, we do a lot of mutual aid, there's a lot of sharing of resources, but if you started to branch out on a much wider perspective, then you can start to align your various fire stations in a region rather than a locality. And there may be some economies of scale, but that is going to take a shift in thinking amongst many communities, elected officials, appointed officials, a number of different officials, to ever kind of pull that concept. I think mutual aid and what we're doing now through seeking shared services is a start. I think 5 years from now, shared services is going to mean something even greater than where we are today.
And I think it also changes that outlook on how it used to be. You even said it there, how it used to be, the community police department, the community fire department. Not to say that those won't be there. There still will be that presence, but it's not going to be the same that they can only go into this jurisdiction. Now they're branching out. Or your local fire department may be a collaboration between you and someone else. It's, as you said, it's a great way to look at it, that change in thought.
Right.
Is it going to be easy, though?
It won't be. Nothing's easy when it comes to change. But I think that the financial condition that many local governments face is going to require thinking like that. And especially as you continue to go back for more tax dollars, I think it's going to be an ongoing conversation to see where we can do to expand those opportunities. And my last item is something we've talked about, I think, in just about every session.
Sure.
That is the achieving the financial sustainability, and that's really key. We are to the point now that July 15th is a deadline to adopt the 2014 budget. And right now, on March 15th, I presented to the Financial Advisory Committee, specific plans and service level reductions to meet the 50% and 100% sustainability level. And I will tell you that's going to be very painful to reach. And the conversation and the presentation that we'll have with the board on the 28th will start to roll that out for the community and get them engaged in the conversation. June 4th will be a critical time for community to give their input on which direction we go in the future. And I'm not saying that we're talking about a large tax increase. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about continuing to do everything we can to drive down cost. Have a conversation about the police department, because that ultimately, whatever we decide to do there, is going to make other decisions happen as to whether we need to utilize reserves to send them a lifeline until next year. And obviously, if we wait till next year, the cost goes up.
Sure.
So there's a lot of different things to think about. But engaging our community and having that conversation is going to be so critical on June 4th as we look to finalize that budget for 2014 and really set the direction for the township. And I'm very optimistic that we are going to find the balance we need to get there. And I think that the feedback that I've received is that there's a lot of positive things going, and we are at a critical crossroads right now in Colerain, and it's going to take engagement within our whole community, going back to our mission statement, right. Engaging our businesses, residents, and visitors to create a vibrant and safe community through innovation, continuous improvement, and a commitment to excellence.
Well, everything that we've gone through is definitely hits all three of those key points. Now, we've been throwing some dates around here, obviously, and these are some very important dates, and I want to make sure that everyone understands what's going on. On May 28th is actually the work session that the township goes through. You'll be presenting a few things at that work session.
We will be presenting the budget contingency plans at 5:30 that evening. And it will give the community an opportunity through Waycross or in person to be able to listen and to hear what those are as we have that dialogue with the board. We don't usually allow public participation at the work session. It's going to be information. The public participation section will then come on June the 4th.
Correct.
At 7 o'clock at the Colerain Community Center, which will be a town hall format, which we will allow public participation on those budget contingency plans and help provide feedback and direction as we look to adopt that budget in July.
And if everyone remembers the first town hall meeting of 2013, it was a very largely attended town hall meeting, which was a very pleasant surprise, I think, for all.
It was. We packed that house January 22nd, and I really do hope that we get a lot of members of the community out to share their thoughts. And this is not about police, it's not about fire, it's not about parks, it's about us as a township and how we work together and move us to the next step. And it's not going to be done in silos. It's going to be part of a strategic master plan. It may just be a police issue if we would happen to decide to go on in November or May. It may just be for police. But that is part of an overall strategy to address the other items that are in our strategic initiatives.
And I think what it really kind of boils down to, and I think you sum it up well, is that this is your community, your voice, your need to help make that change.
Absolutely.
Well, it sounds like we've got a lot going on, a lot of great things. We didn't even get to discuss Colerain yet. We can still do that. Okay. Let's end the evening with something good and a little lighthearted, but yet at the same time a little bit of understanding of what's driving Colerain.
Absolutely. Well, values represent the core of our beliefs. And I believe it drives what, success of an organization is. And so as we spent the afternoon of our retreat thinking through what we value, I can't remember which team, it might have been Frank, came up with the idea, well, what if we build off the Colerain name and take each letter and identify what we value in that? And it really was a great, fun exercise.
It gave you 8 letters to choose from.
It did. And, our C represents our commitment to customer service, overall commitment, collaboration. O, outcomes, organization and openness. L, leading, learning, and loyalty. E, excellence, ethics, and efficiency. R, respect and responsiveness. A, accountability and action. I, innovation, integrity, and improvement. And finally, N, our neighborhoods. And, we value our neighborhoods. We're a very diverse community. And as you spell that Colerain out, there are a number of things there we value. And we believe that this 2-day retreat was well worth the time we spent to really focus my team on moving Colerain to that best-in-class community.
Well, I think if you were to compare our conversation at the beginning of the year to where we are, and that's just in a matter of 3 months, the focus in which has now, it's almost as if that's at that tip of that arrow. It's truly honed down and focused to where you'd like to see 2013, 2014, and beyond go. And quite frankly, it's probably that retreat that's helped, but I think it's that overall idea of instilling something as simple as this to move everybody forward.
Absolutely.
Well, believe it or not, we are getting down to the bottom of our hour, but I do want to thank you, of course, for joining us here, giving us all the information we need. And one more time, again, May 28th is for the appropriations,
the budget presentation.
Budget presentation, just informative. You can catch that here live on Waycross. If you cannot make it to the 5:30 meeting, you can always catch it here on our channel. June 4th is the other important date. Make sure that you're at the Colerain Community Center. I said it right this time. 7 p.m. for a town hall meeting. These are really important for your information to be heard, your voice to be heard, and the information to be gathered for you. So, Mr. Rowan, thank you again for joining us. And of course, I want to thank all of you for joining us as well. Again, get involved. I give you a couple dates. The other way to get involved, join us here. You can become a community member of our community team. You can be your own producer. You can be a volunteer. You can be you. That's the important part. Just enjoy it. I'm giving you the number here. It's 825-2429. That gives you right here in our office. Get all the information you need. Become a part of the Waycross family. I hope you've enjoyed our time here at the Round Table. I sure have, because we've had the opportunity to talk with Colerain Township for this quarter. Hope you enjoy your spring. We'll see you again in the summer, and maybe even sooner. Enjoy your evening. Thanks, and have a great day.